In September of 2019, the O Beauty, a luxury cruise liner owned by TT and AM Maritime, was scheduled to return from a 10-day voyage through the Caribbean. It never did. Not in the way anyone expected. When the Coast Guard finally sighted the vessel drifting silently into Miami Harbor, everything looked wrong. There were no crew members on deck. No passengers waving from the balconies. Yet the engines were still humming. The ship wasn't wrecked. It wasn't damaged. It was simply empty. The O Beauty had been at sea with 387 passengers and 42 crew members. When Harbor Control hailed the ship over the radio, there was no response. No distress calls, no emergency beacons. Just dead air. 2 Coast Guard officers were the first to board. They described the scene like walking into a photograph of life paused mid-breath. Every dining table in the main hall was still set. Half-eaten meals sat under cold lights. Coffee cups still steamed faintly. In one of the cabins, the television was still playing a family movie on repeat. A hairbrush sat on a bed beside a passport, and a half-packed suitcase lay open on the floor. There was no sign of struggle, no blood, no overturned furniture, no footprints leading off the ship. Just absence. When the investigation began, the first question was simple: how did the ship get there? According to its GPS data, the O Beauty hadn't been heading toward Miami at all. For 7 days, its navigation logs showed it circling the same 12-mile patch of open ocean, hundreds of miles east of the Bahamas. Fuel records confirmed it should have run dry by day 5. Yet when they found it, the tanks were half full. Every digital system on board, navigation, engine control, even the digital clocks, had reset themselves to midnight at some point during that week. But the most chilling discovery came from the bridge voice recorder, the maritime equivalent of a black box. The recording began normally: engine noise, crew chatter, the captain giving routine course corrections. Then, at precisely 3:17 a.m. on the 7th night, all voices stopped. For about 20 seconds, the only sound was static, like distant wind rushing through a tunnel. Then came the whispers. Hundreds of overlapping voices, faint but unmistakable, repeating a single phrase over and over. "We see the shore. We see the shore. We see the shore." The chorus lasted exactly 40 seconds before cutting off with a sharp pop, like a microphone being unplugged. Acoustic analysis later determined that the voices weren't echoes of the crew. The tones, pitches, and cadences didn't match any of the 429 people registered on board. No one could explain where they came from. Inside the captain's quarters, investigators found the ship's handwritten logbook. Most of the entries were routine: weather reports, navigation data, brief notes about passenger activities. Then, on the 7th night, the handwriting changed. The final entry read: visibility low. Instruments unreliable. Lights ahead on the horizon. Possibly land. The stars look wrong tonight. We can see land now. But it isn't where it should be. The sentence trailed off mid-word. The pen had dragged across the page as if the writer had been interrupted suddenly. In the days that followed, the story exploded across every news outlet. Some said it was piracy, but there were no signs of boarding. No missing valuables. Others blamed a mass evacuation due to toxic gas or food contamination, but all safety systems were intact. A few scientists proposed a bizarre theory: a microburst electromagnetic event, strong enough to scramble human perception and time sense, possibly causing panic and disorientation. But none of that explained where the people went. Every lifeboat was still attached. Every safety vest still stored. The ship had been perfectly functional, except for the lack of human life. 3 weeks later, a technician analyzing the ship's Wi-Fi server discovered something overlooked: fragments of passenger phone uploads that never made it to the cloud. Among them was a 32-second video, timestamped 1 hour before all communication stopped. It showed the upper deck at night. Passengers were gathered along the railing, staring out at the horizon. You can hear someone say, "Is that the Bahamas?" Then someone else whispers, "No. It looks like it's moving." The camera pans toward what seems to be a glowing outline, an entire shoreline shimmering faintly in the darkness, like a mirage. Then the clip cuts off. When salvage crews finally towed the O Beauty into dry dock, all electronic systems shut down simultaneously. Engineers reported hearing a faint crackling sound echoing through the ship's PA system. Security footage showed empty hallways, yet motion sensors triggered doors opening and closing throughout the night. One worker claimed to have heard voices near the deck at dawn. He described them as distant, layered whispers. When asked what they were saying, he hesitated. Then he said quietly, "It sounded like they were saying they could see the shore." TT and AM dissolved within a year. The ship was sold for scrap, dismantled in a private facility in Louisiana. But according to the workers who cut it apart, there were parts of the lower decks, especially near the hull, where sound didn't behave normally. Voices would echo twice. Tools would rattle on their own. And sometimes, when they stopped working, they swore they could hear waves, even though the ship was on dry land. None of that made it into the official report. In 2021, a retired Coast Guard officer anonymously uploaded an audio clip online. It was allegedly extracted from the unedited black box file, the part that had been sealed from the public. The whispers play for 40 seconds, and then, faintly, another sound emerges. A man's voice. "Clear, calm. The captain. We can see the shore now, but it isn't where it should be." Then silence. And if you listen closely, some say you can still hear the sea behind him, but it doesn't sound like water. It sounds like breathing. The O Beauty was meant to bring people home. Instead, it brought back only questions. And somewhere out there, across the endless blue, maybe there's still a patch of ocean that doesn't quite belong to our world. Where a ship circles, forever seeing a shore that isn't where it should be.